Three of the most important people behind one of the biggest fighting game franchises on the planet, the producer, a longtime director, and the guy who literally just directed the last two mainline entries, all leave. Not for three different places, but to the same place. Now you're probably wondering what their first project is going to be. And I have that first big game they should work on. Yes, you heard me right, but let me explain. Hey, what's up? This is Freelancer back again with another video, and this time I want to talk about Tekken. Sort of. It's kind of Tekken adjacent, but just stick with me for a second. The reason I want to talk about this is because something that's been unfolding over the last several months, and honestly, it just got a lot more interesting this week. In case you didn't know, Kazuhiro Harada, Yuichi Yonemori, and now Kohei Ikeda, three names any Tekken fans should recognize, they have all left Bandai Namco and landed at SNK. Now look, I talk about fighting games a lot on this channel, and if you know anything about me, I don't take news like this very lightly. When the people who built the franchise for over 2-3 decades all walk out the door around the same time, that's not a coincidence, that's a signal. But this video is not about Bandai Namco. Something big is happening, and for me, the second I heard SNK attached to Harada's name, my brain didn't go to Tekken. It went somewhere way weirder, but we'll get there in a second. First, let's actually lay out the timeline because it's bigger than a lot of people realize. So here's the thing. Harada joined Bandai Namco back in 1994, 30 years give or take on the Tekken series alone. In December of 2025, he announces that he's leaving, and it wasn't some messy, dramatic exit either. His statement basically said, hey, Tekken just hit its 30th anniversary, this feels like the right time to close this chapter. He talked about losing close friends and colleagues over the years and just reflecting on how much time he's got left as a creator. Genuinely kind of a heavy way to frame it. Then May 2026 rolls around and the next domino drops. Versus Studio SNK, a brand new Tokyo-based studio backed directly by SNK as Harada as CEO. And he doesn't walk in alone. Yuichi Yonemori, director on multiple Tekken games including both Tekken Tag tournaments, is right there with him from day one. And this is another big hit, and also the reason that made me want to make this video. Kohei Ikeda, known to a lot of you as Nakatsu, announces he's joined the Versus Studio as well. This is the guy who directed Tekken 7 and Tekken 8. In his statement, he said working with two of his former bosses again feels nostalgic, but also genuinely new and exciting. So just think about that for a second. The producer, a longtime director, and now the most recent director all under one roof at SNK. No project announced, nothing official, which, if you ask me, makes this the most interesting open question in fighting games right now. Here's what everyone is assuming, and honestly it's the safe assumption, that this team is just going to build a new IP that's basically Tekken. Tekken 9 in spirit, different logo, whatnot. That's probably what's going to happen. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But that's not the interesting answer. I don't even think it's the smart answer, because SNK doesn't need someone to hand them a Tekken knockoff. SNK needs someone to finally do something SNK itself could never pull off. And there's already a game sitting in their own back catalog that's exactly that, Boriki 1. If you're not deep into SNK's history, don't worry, most people aren't. But anyway, Boriki 1 World Grapple Tournament 99 in Tokyo came out in arcades in 1999, the last game ever released on SNK's Hyper Neo Geo 64 hardware, which was basically SNK's attempt at going toe-to-toe with Sega and Namco in 3D. And it never got ported anywhere, no home release ever. If you wanted to play this game, you needed to physically find the cabinet in Japan. But here's why it's actually interesting. It wasn't another 2D sprite fighter like everything else SNK was known for. No King of Fighters, no Fatal Fury sprite work. This was a fully 3D MMA inspired fighting game, years before MMA was even a mainstream thing in the West. 11 fighters, each one built around a real discipline: boxing, karate, Aikido, Tai Chi, Muay Thai, pro wrestling. You can win by knockout, by submission, or by decision if the clock ran out. No fireballs, no over-the-top supers. It was trying to be grounded, and it was trying to be realistic. Even the controls were flipped from a normal fighter. Buttons handled your movement and your blocking, and the joystick handled your attacks and your grabs. Pretty unusual, and it took time to learn, and honestly, that's probably a big reason it never found a wide audience. But the people who did dig into it still talk about it as one of SNK's most distinct experiments. A game that took throws and clinches and realistic grappling seriously in a genre that mostly did not care about that kind of stuff. It even ties into a franchise you probably already know. Ryo Sakazaki from Art of Fighting shows up in it, aged up going by Mr. Karate 2. In the poster board of the whole game, Guy Tendo later pop up as a hidden character in King of Fighters 11. And where is Baruki 1 after all these years? Non-existent. Just one game, one release, 26 years of silence, sitting fully owned in SNK's library with a small but devoted little pocket of fans who still bring it up every time SNK does one of those "what should we revive" polls. So now put those two things next to each other, Harada, Yonemori, and Ikeda didn't just make a fighting game for 2 or 3 decades. They made a 3D fighting game built around spacing, movement, throws, juggles, grounded physical combat at a scale almost nobody else can touch. That is an insanely specific skill set, and here's the thing. SNK has never really had that in-house. Their 3D attempts have been really limited at best. And even their newest stuff, like the latest Fatal Fury, is still a fundamentally 2D playing fighter. Baruki 1 is the one time SNK actually tried to go full 3D with grappling and realism baked into the DNA, and that is exactly the lane this team has spent their entire careers mastering. This isn't bring your old job to a new company, this is take the one SNK experiment that always needed exactly your specific expertise and finally give it the budget it never had in 1999. And here's what I think really seals it. Branding. If Versus Studios' first game is a brand new IP that plays like Tekken, every single review, every comment section forever is going to say, "Oh cool, it's just like Tekken." That comparison will never go away. But if they bring back Baruki 1, an actual existing SNK property with real history and a built-in air of mystery, the headline writes itself. The Tekken team resurrected a lost SNK classic. Completely different story and way more compelling. It lets them use everything they know about 3D fighting design without ever inviting a direct, unfavorable, well, it's not as good as Tekken comparison on day one. And honestly, the obscurity is a gift here, not a limitation. Reviving something massive and beloved comes with impossible expectations baked in before they even ship the game. Reviving something niche and respected and unfinished gives you room to actually reinvent it. Modern netcode, bigger roster, an actual single player mode, production value it never got the first time around. Either way, it's a better bet than another Tekken clone nobody asked for. Now to be real clear, none of this is confirmed. This is all just crazy talk of a fighting game fan high off hopium. Versus Studio hasn't announced a single project. This is me looking at a studio that just landed 3 of the best 3D fighting game minds in the industry right now, sitting inside a company that owns a genuinely great unfinished idea from 1999 and connecting the dots the way I see them. But if I'm SNK and I just got this much Tekken pedigree walking into my building, I'm not asking them to build me a Tekken clone. I'm handing them the one thing in my vault that was always a little bit too ambitious for the team that built it the first time, and I'm letting them finally finish it. And that's pretty much my pitch. Baruki 1, or we call it Baruki 2, Baruki Revival, what have you. Either way, let's go. How about you all? Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm way off base and this team's going to do something completely different? I know some of you are probably hoping for a straight up new Tekken style IP, but honestly, I get it. And as always, I'm always open to hearing what you guys have to say, so please drop your comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more. And the moment Versus Studio announced their first project, you already know I'm going to be all over it. Also go follow me on Twitter and Instagram for updates in between videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.